How was the U.S. operation in Venezuela conducted? Where is Nicolás Maduro right now? Was there resistance? Did intelligence or insider support make the difference? What are the legal and political implications? Who might lead Venezuela next? And what has the United States actually achieved from this dramatic operation? In this video, we answer all of these questions and break down one of the most significant geopolitical events of recent years. 1. How the operation was conducted. The operation began early in the morning with coordinated airstrikes over several regions of Venezuela, including near the capital of Caracas. U.S. military officials describe a multi-phase approach that blended precision air power, surveillance aircraft, and a ground assault by special operations forces. Troops on the ground reportedly pushed quickly toward a secure compound where Venezuelan leaders were believed to be located. According to official statements, this location was identified after months of intelligence gathering and reconnaissance. What stood out about this mission was its speed and apparent precision. There were no prolonged battles reported inside the city. Instead, once ground forces reached their target, President Nicolás Maduro and his wife reportedly surrendered without a large firefight. Military analysts say that in such operations, detailed knowledge of layouts, access points, and movements is critical. This suggests the United States had highly specific intelligence before launching the mission. 2. Where is Nicolás Maduro right now? Following the capture, the United States moved Maduro and his wife to a secure, undisclosed location. Officials in Washington have stated that Maduro is in custody under U.S. authority, and that he will face legal proceedings related to long-standing allegations tied to corruption, drug trafficking, and international sanctions. At this early stage, the exact facility or city where he is being held has not been publicly disclosed for security reasons, as is common in sensitive operations. Venezuelan authorities remain vehemently opposed to the capture and continue to denounce U.S. actions as illegal and imperialistic. 3. Was there resistance? Reports from the initial hours of the strikes did include explosions and reports of aircraft activity over Venezuelan airspace. However, when U.S. ground forces reached their objective, there are no verified accounts of significant resistance from presidential guards or loyalist forces. Maduro's surrender rather than a large firefight has led analysts to believe that either his inner circle was unwilling to fight or that the element of surprise was effectively maintained. In past operations with high stakes and high visibility, minimizing resistance can be as much a matter of intelligence and strategy as battlefield performance. 4. Inside help or intelligence support. This section is critical to understanding why the mission succeeded so quickly. In almost every special operations raid targeting high-value individuals, success owes as much to timely, accurate intelligence as to military force. While official sources have not publicly detailed specific inside sources, the speed and precision of the operation strongly indicate that the United States had extensive intelligence support. In other words, the mission likely depended on knowing exactly where and when leadership would be present. Maduro's quick surrender suggests that either his own security perimeter was compromised or that his forces were unwilling to engage U.S. troops inside urban areas. 5. Legal and political implications. The seizure of a sitting foreign head of state raises profound legal and political questions. Under international law, the capture of a president is almost unprecedented without formal extradition or a United Nations mandate. The United States has framed its actions as necessary to counter drug trafficking and threats to regional security. However, critics argue that such actions set a new precedent for unilateral military intervention. Political implications for the U.S. include debate over executive authority for military action, discussion in Congress about checks and balances, international reaction from allies and rivals. Caracas has condemned the action as a violation of sovereignty, while some governments have called for diplomatic engagement and restraint. 6. What happens next in Venezuela? With Maduro out of power, a political vacuum has emerged. One name repeatedly mentioned by analysts and observers is María Corina Machado, a prominent opposition figure and recipient of international awards. Machado has a significant support base and has long been a vocal critic of the Maduro regime. If she were to lead a transition government, Venezuela could see new diplomatic openings. attempts to stabilize the economy, potential reconciliation with international partners. However, challenges remain immense. The Venezuelan military still holds influence, and public trust has been deeply fractured. Will the opposition overcome? Entrenched power structures? That remains to be seen. What has the United States achieved? From Washington's perspective, this operation delivers several strategic outcomes. First, it removes Nicolás Maduro, a leader the U.S. has accused for years of corruption, drug trafficking ties, and undermining democratic institutions. Second, it significantly weakens a government that has controlled the world's largest proven oil reserves, while being largely cut off from U.S. and Western energy markets due to sanctions. Venezuela's vast oil resources have long been a major factor in U.S. foreign policy toward the country. American officials have repeatedly said that a change in leadership could allow Venezuela's oil sector to reopen to international investment under transparent and lawful conditions. Stabilizing Venezuela could eventually increase global oil supply, reduce pressure on energy markets, and lessen reliance on other unstable or adversarial producers. Third, the operation sends a strong signal that the United States is willing to use military and intelligence power to protect regional security interests, including energy stability in the Western Hemisphere. However, removing a leader does not automatically restore oil production or economic stability. Venezuela's energy infrastructure is damaged, underfunded, and will require years of rebuilding. In short, the U.S. may have gained strategic leverage and future economic opportunity, but the real outcome will depend on whether Venezuela can transition peacefully and rebuild its institutions. 8. My analysis and opinion. This operation is a stark reminder that modern geopolitics is not just about diplomacy or sanctions. It is about power, intelligence, influence, and the unpredictable consequences of direct action. While capturing Maduro removes a symbolic and controversial figure, the real test lies in what happens next, in governance, in rebuilding trust, and in how the international community responds. This could be a turning point in Venezuelan history, but only if political transition and economic recovery follow military success. 9. Closing and engagement. So what do you think? Will this operation bring long-term stability to Venezuela, or could it spark further conflict? Share your opinion in the comments. Follow CRX for fast updates on trending U.S. news.